Here we go then, guys. Ready for another episode of The Martial View. And this time I am honored to have, the privilege of chatting to Dr. Jon Xue Zhang. Did I say that right? That's the first one.
Wow. First time. Yeah, that's really good.
Yes, get in. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you just want to give yourself a slight intro just for people who don't know who you are?
Sure.
Go for it.
So as Dan kindly introduced me, my name is Dr. Jon Xue Zhang, and I'm a martial artist. I've been training for about 28 years. I've trained in a lot of different styles, such as Kung Fu, Karate, Jiu-Jitsu, Aikido, Hapkido, Arnis, and Salat, to name a few. My instructor used to teach the SAS, so I learned what I do from him. So I competed many moons ago in Kung Fu and Karate and kickboxing. I've also, I used to teach the members of the public services, such as Army, Police, Security, and I was also the sports psychologist for the Saudi Arabian national taekwondo team.
Wow.
And these days, I do a lot more film work. So I work as an actor and a stunt performer, as well as fight choreographer. So it's been a lot of fun over the past few years, I must say. But I would also like to thank Nick from the Aikibudo Alliance in Wolverhampton for introducing myself to you. So hi, Nick. Shout out to you.
Shout out. Awesome. Yeah. Wow. What an eclectic kind of CV you've got. That's amazing. Like, you've trained in so many different martial arts, and you seem to have so many fingers in pies, and just doing loads of stuff. It's awesome. So you started training with an SAS instructor. How did this come about? Because usually the path is, I'll go to a local club that's whatever, karate maybe, or something like that for £2 a class. And you're like, no, I'll go straight to the SAS.
So my father was my first teacher, he was in the Taiwanese army, and so he used to train as well in various different styles. So I started training under him in 1993, it was.
Yeah.
So you probably can work out my age. I was 5 years old at the time, and 33 this year. Okay. But so he was my first instructor, and I did 2 years of training with him before he then went on like a 50-mile radius search for a martial arts instructor. And he went to a lot of different clubs and found like a karate club where there was a guy who was teaching, traditional karate, and then you've got another guy who was teaching not so traditional stuff. And so my father said, well, this guy is the best I've ever seen. I'm going to send my 2 boys to train with him. And so for 26 years, I've had the same instructor. So that's brand loyalty for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But no, he is, Jerome, his name is, he's fantastic. Like, never taught me the same thing twice. And, when I teach these days, I make sure that my students have a wide range of variety. They're able to improvise in different situations and everything. So, it was a lot of armed and unarmed combat against multiple attackers or single attackers and everything. And it was very intensive, very, very intensive. And to give it some scale, the guy was 20 stones at one point, and he could move. He could really move.
20 stone of muscle.
Yeah. So, and 6'3" as well. So it's
okay, yeah.
Not
a little guy then.
No, God, no.
What did you think your dad was looking for then? If you said that he went on this 50-mile radius thing, what things do you think he was looking for you in a martial arts instructor?
At the time, I thought, he just wants to punish us. He wants to punish my brother and I, because doing training at home wasn't enough, obviously. So it's
sure.
then, now that I'm an adult, more or less, I speak to my dad about this, and he said, look, I just wanted the best. I could take your training so far, and whilst, my dad still kind of trains me here and there these days as well, but so it never stopped. But he always said to me that, he could take me so far, but he wanted to find someone who was better than him, and someone who could take my training to the next level and keep evolving it. And my father said, this one instructor that he saw would be the one that would He said, you will hate him for years, for sure. But, you'll see that actually everything he teaches, it's nothing but efficacy. And for the guy to have, taught the SAS, and he worked in security for, I'd say over 30 years or so. He used to work as bodyguard and everything. My dad said, the range of things that he used to do, and when he used to watch my instructor spar, he goes, there's no one else out there like him. So my dad just wanted the best for us, and he also wanted my brother and I to be academically inclined as well. So we had to be balanced. It wasn't just about the fighting. We had to be good at everything else. So, he pushed us, or both of our parents pushed us, not just martially, but academically, even spiritually, you know what I mean? It's so, you can't be good at one thing. You need to be good at everything. And
how did you find that balance? Like the balance between obviously working out so hard and training so hard with the SAS, and then on the other side, being quite academic and, as you said, spiritual and.
I think we kind of had a rigid schedule as kids, and as far as I was aware, most of the kids were doing the same at home. They were doing something similar, though I know it's a stereotype that Asian parents are very hard on their children and everything, and discipline and everything. It's all true.
Spoiler, it's true. Yeah,
it's all true. But I am grateful. It's I think it's not that I had any less fun than anyone else. I still had a really decent childhood. And for sure though, I think I'm at the age now where I can appreciate all those things. And I think your parents push you because they just want the best for you. Doesn't feel like it at the time, but it's like when you're spending hours on the piano, for instance. It's like I've come to realize that I was doing all of that practice for me, not for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Was martial arts something that always resonated with you then? So even as a child, was it something you were just interested in, or was there ever a point where your dad was like, you've got to go and train now?
It was always something that he pushed us to do. So it's since the age of 5, that's all I've done. It's so it's all I knew when I was younger. You do your homework, you study and everything, and you read as much as you can, and you train. It's so that was always instilled into our lives as children, and of course we used to watch all the movies and everything. And so obviously, like when I was younger, the career path was, well, if I'm doing all this training, I might as well watch all these movies, and maybe I could be there someday.
How did that start for you then, getting into the movie scene? And
so as a child, it was like, it was always my dream to be a superhero. And if I couldn't be one in real life, I'd settle for playing one in a film. And if I couldn't play one in a film, then I'd settle for playing a villain. I'm happy with either, which I get typecast these days. So, so my brother found like a casting, like an open casting, and he said, "Look, it's in London. Let's go check it out. It might be nothing, but They took some photos of us and everything, and then they said, "Oh, we'll call you back." And got the call back for an audition at Shepperton Studios. It was huge. It was I'd never done anything like this before.
That's the big one, Shepperton.
Yeah, absolutely. Shepperton, Pinewood, Leavesden. Yeah, they're huge. And it was for 47 Ronin, which is a Keanu Reeves movie. And the choreography that we had to learn was great. It was different to what I was used to because, obviously you need to practice control, which is something that I've had, but it's like you're aiming not to hit each other, just look as if you are. And you got to play off the other guy as well. You're not trying to kill him, you're trying to make each other look good. And so that was slightly different for me. So it's a bit of an adjustment. But so martial arts generally splits into 3 categories. You've got fighting, performance, and health. And I think at one stage or another, we do all 3 of those, so I thought, okay, I'm just tweaking what I already do. And And yeah, from that point onwards, you know, I moved from different film set to different film set, different project to different project. But I always had a full-time job during my film career and everything.
Okay.
So I've always worked your 9 to 5 and everything. And just because film work isn't something that, unless you are at a certain stage in your life, for instance, in your career, film work is just as and when it kind of happens. You know, you might get a call every couple months. So
it's not the same stability.
No. So I mean, I know that it's a cliche where they say it's not what you know, but who you know. Yeah. It's also who knows you. So you know, for different projects, I've had the same stunt coordinator. He might call me back for different projects. So on 47 Ronin, there was a guy called Vincent who called me back for 24, Doctor Strange. And so I worked with him a few times, and
cool.
It's good fun.
What's the process like then of filming a fight scene, or what's the process like of learning choreography? Do you go through it step by step? Is it quite a quick process? Is it kind of jumping in with both feet and you push straight into the deep end, or is it built up slowly?
So it is like if you generally have a rehearsal, so you come in and everything, and they teach you the moves and everything. You just rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. I mean, I did a 4-month shoot where we rehearsed for about 2 weeks before we actually started filming.
Yeah.
And when we started filming, we weren't even filming that scene. So you know, up until we actually got to the fight scene a few weeks later, we were still rehearsing that as and when we could. And so it's like it's just so that it looks like it's natural. So when you do it, when you do the fight scenes, it looks like this is the first time you've done this fight scene, but every move you do looks like you've practiced it 1,000 times because you're a pro.
Yeah, it's a difficult line to tread, I suppose, like a difficult balance to get.
And it's also because stunt acting is still acting. So it's like when you take a hit, you still have to look as if you're taking a hit.
Yeah.
I know years ago, I think someone said to Jackie Chan, "Oh, you know, I know you're not scared when you do the stunts, but your character is. So
you
have to look scared." And but I'm pleased to say that any stunt I ever did, I was scared for every one of them.
Which part of your martial arts training do you think fit the best into the stunt work? As you said, there's the health side, the physical side, the fighting side, and then the performance side. So which element of your martial arts, whether it's Hapkido, Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu, Silat, etc., which bit fit best into the performance side for you?
I think it's a combination of a few, because it's like in terms of the fighting side, you've got more of the boxing, kickboxing kind of movements, bit of Muay Thai. You might do some clinching, and when you get taken down, there's a bit of judo. So you need to know how to fall. And you need to and it's you got distancing as well, but it's also sometimes they want your character might come from a different style. For instance, your character might have a karate background, so it's like, okay, actually this is okay. But generally with fight scenes, they don't always stick to one style. It's what works for that scene, what moves work for that scene. So it's like in the Bourne Identity, for instance, it's a mixture of different things. There's a lot of Filipino martial arts influence there. But I think sometimes in films, they just pick and choose what looks best for that scene.
Eclectic mix, stick it in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I think break falling is a huge thing to know.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. And the thing
coming from the guy who's just released a break falling course online, so you're preaching to the choir on this one.
That's fantastic. I will need to check that out.
There you go.
But it's like when you are if you're on a wire, for instance, it's a little harder because you can't control where it is you're falling, and you do have a team of people who are doing that for you. But you are less in control. You just have to react to it. So I think with break falling, for sure, that's and it's the endurance as well. You need cardiovascular fitness, muscular endurance, and mental endurance, because when you see it on film, one take that looks like maybe it's 3-4 seconds where you get slammed to the ground, one, you rehearsed that for weeks, and two, on the day, you probably shot it about at least 12 times, for instance.
Wow,
you know
yeah.
I mean? So it's having the endurance of this is the first time I'm getting slammed, even though it's at the end of the day, you're exhausted, and okay, let's go again. Like,
okay. Just like it's take one again, even though it's take 12, it's got to be just like take one.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And with after every take, the stunt coordinator might give you notes, and they'll say, "Okay, that was good, but."
Always the but.
Yeah, so you need to take those things into account where you know it's going to hurt, but you know this is the nature of the job, you know, and you get knocked around and everything, but you know, boy, is it worth it.
Yeah, bumps and bruises, but it's a cool job at the end of the day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What's been your favorite project to work on, do you think?
There's been quite a few. I mean, I think one that probably gave me most publicity was Take Me Out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. I've done it twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I managed to get myself a date, and I flew out to the Isle of Fernandez.
Wow, nice.
And my date, Trudy, we are still good friends to this day, which is great.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
But yeah, I think in terms of you know, I enjoy doing the Brit Awards as well. The Gentleman with Guy Ritchie, that was a brilliant project to work on. I was there for 4 days, and yeah, it was. People were so nice on that set. Super nice, and yeah. It's like I got to work with Henry Golding, who was super sweet, you know, and they were all super nice, and just it was like a big family, you know what I mean? It was like this is fantastic. I think, but my favorite film to have worked on was The Host, which is now available on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. And yeah, they treated us so well. I mean, they took us to the Netherlands for like a publicity event and everything, and yeah, that was fantastic. You know, and that's another independent small crew. Everyone's a family, and yeah, it's I get to rough up Dougie from McFly. And,
always a positive aspect.
I didn't tell him this, but as I'm dragging him, he actually broke my toe.
Oh, really? He got his own back?
Yeah, so I need to throw him in the car. We did it maybe about 4 or 5 takes. On the first take, he stamped on my foot by accident. You know, and I'm
That's what he maintains anyway.
Yeah. On the second take, he stamped in the same place. I thought, oh, okay. By the 5th take, I thought, yeah, nah, something's gone. Yeah, but all good fun though. You know, it's yeah, I just, you know, you love being on set. It is long days, but boy, is it worth it.
Have you ever had any bad experiences on set, or has it always been quite a positive experience in terms of the family feel? And because I can imagine the pressure's quite a lot as well sometimes.
There are projects where it's like, oh my goodness, these people have no idea what to do, and they're kind of winging it.
Yeah.
And I've been on a few of them, and they're more independent projects, the smaller ones that, and it's like, for sure they will be like, they're telling you that it's all, you know, there are lines, but it's not scripted and it's all improv. I'm like, okay,
right.
Why are you telling me this on the day? But okay. Or they might say something like, oh yeah, so choreography, yeah, we'll just do it. Or on the day, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But you know, we need to work out safety as well as the environment. Okay, I mean, at the end of the day, I think safety is the most important thing. So it's like, oh, so you want me to? So this guy's going to throw me over the table onto this. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to rehearse that until we start shooting it. And if it's low budget, for instance, you know, I don't think they take into account the safety. So that's something I'm always concerned about. But there's some projects some bigger projects where I haven't had as much of a good time. It's like not because it's a bad production, but because everyone's really stressing out and everything, and you need to make sure that you're always calm. You know what I mean? It's like as calm as possible. It's like you know, you're maybe 10 hours into the shoot and you're getting tired. You're getting you know, it's just the endurance of it, and then you have to make sure that you are still easy to work with, even if it is demanding, you know. But for the most part, I have fun.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the main thing. So you kind of mentioned the mental aspect then of your martial arts, and then how important you think it is, and how much, you know, the mental aspect maybe helped you in terms of the stunt work as well, and keeping that cool, calm collectedness. So what emphasis do you put on the mental side of martial arts now, and how important do you think that is?
It is so important. It's essential. It's essentially like if my body is a car, you know what I mean. It's then my mind is the driver. The car is only as good as the driver, you know.
Yeah.
So if I'm intoxicated, so generally I always want to be of sound mind. It's like one of the things I always say to my students are, if you can control yourself, you will always have an influence over the outcome of the situation. You know, if you can handle yourself, that is. It's like if, for instance, you and I have a big argument, you know, I say some unsavory things and then storm off.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, you know, damn, such and such. And then once I calm down, I'll be like, really wish I didn't say those things. And if I was calm, I wouldn't have said any of those things. I wouldn't have lashed out. I wouldn't have punched the window.
Yeah, it's the heat of the moment thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I'm like, so why could I not have been calm the whole time? You know? And I think as soon as martial artists, for instance, it's not just important to control ourselves physically, but to have mental control as well. That way we don't fly off the handle. Because if you're a martial artist who flies off the handle and everything, that makes you a very dangerous person, very volatile. And that's, especially with the skills that you're equipped with, that's the last thing you want. So I know when people say, you know, in terms of like mental discipline and everything, like it's so important to exhibit that kind of control, because I feel that when I was younger, I think maybe when I was up until I was maybe 20 or something, I would still, you know, rage out. Yeah. But I thought, actually, if I lose my temper now, I would diminish everything that I've worked for, everything that I've ever worked for until the, you know, it's the point I am now. It diminishes that as soon as I lose my temper. So I make sure that I'm always cool and calm under pressure. That's
one split bad decision can ruin your life, can't it? If you take it to an extreme, one bad decision, boom, done.
It's so true. It's like when I used to work the doors, for instance. It's you have to not take everything personally. You can't take anything personally. And like if someone says something to you and everything and makes you, oh yeah, oh how dare you, you know. Of course, the first instinct is, I could end you right now.
You have no idea. Your night up, yeah.
You have no idea. You know, it's like, or you think it would feel really good to punch this guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? Instant gratification. It probably would feel really good to do it.
Yeah.
So, and then let's say I do. Then what happens is, realistically, the guy's probably going to press charges. I'm then in and out of court, legal battle. I'll lose my license or lose whatever it is, and then this is all going to be publicized somewhere in the local newspaper, and then it's like I'll probably get a criminal record, and it's just because I wanted to punch the guy in the moment. So you create a permanent set of circumstances when you're temporarily angry, and it's like, so discipline is what stops you from. Discipline is what gets you from where you are now to where you want to be, as opposed to what you want at the time.
Sure.
You know, and it's that fine balance, you know. And
for sure, yeah.
Obviously, you know, what if I'm trying to lose weight, for instance, I'm like, right, I need to stick to this diet, I need to do this, but I also really want McDonald's, you know, and I think it's fine to cave every now and again, but not to the point where you're doing it all the time. So.
Yeah, everything in moderation. all that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think with martial arts, though, you need to have complete supreme control over what it is you do, and that way, it's like, and you got martial artists who specialize in different things. For instance, if I'm a security guard, I will specialize in restraining people, actually escorting people out. If it's army, for instance, it is very different. I've had a few. I'll call them ex-army individuals who are going on holiday and want to learn some handy skills. It's like, okay, this holiday that they're being, their cover story is a bit weird. Okay, but all right. Okay. It's like they'll ask very specific questions, and then it's like, okay, their motivation is go straight in and do irrevocable damage.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to be able to do everything from A to B and practice as much as you can in different situations. Should you have to go beyond what it is, so it's like, if I'm having to, I know a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, for instance, like, they're really good at control, restraint, and everything. But it's like, what if the next guy comes? What if, what if the guy you're holding down is actually a lot stronger than you because he's on something? So there are things that we need to train to be prepared to do should, when all else fails. I think, this is the boundary of your training. It's like, okay, cool. Who exists outside of that boundary? So for competitive fighters, it might be, you're used to fighting one-on-one with rules. So the people who exist outside this boundary are multiple attackers with weapons. And, so I always think it's good to not only keep doing the training that you're doing, but to add a few things to complement your current training now, just in case that ever happens. Obviously, you want to avoid any kind of physical confrontation.
Yeah.
But I think it's always important to be open-minded to other things out there, and what's your background? Sorry.
So I started off in Aikido. So yeah, so I did 20 years of Aikido, and then after that moved into kind of the mixed martial arts side of it, a bit of the combative side, a bit of the self-defense, and yeah, just similar to you, I suppose, training quite a lot. And yeah.
So I think it's great that you did that, because it's like you kind of transition from one thing to another, and especially with the concept of mixed martial arts, you take what works for you and everything.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think it's important that I know a lot of guys, traditional guys, especially with traditional kung fu guys, they stick very rigid. No, I only ever do kung fu. I only do Chinese style.
Yeah.
Actually, if China had invaded the entire world, then any martial art we would be learning would be kung fu. So I think it's important to get over the nationality of the style and learn the benefits and the merits of all these different fighting styles.
Oh, for sure, definitely, yeah.
So it's like, then people will say, "Oh, so John, you're freestyle then?" I was like, "No, I'm style free. It's different. It's I stay style free." So that way, I'm not bound by anything. And that's something my dad saw in my instructor, where he said, "Oh, so he's big, he's strong, he's like he's built like a bodybuilder, but he's quick. He can lock like a Korean and Japanese fighter.
Yeah.
He's got knife and stick fighting skills and weapon skills like an Indonesian. Yeah. His hands are very kung fu, but he's got karate background to it. And his kicks, he's got such good control with it. There's some elements of taekwondo. And my dad's like, I don't really know what he does, but it's great.
What are you?
Yeah, just that anomaly. And it's like, I think it's good to have that unpredictability as well. Because back in ancient China, for instance, it's like, as soon as two people start battling, for whatever reason, one guy will get into a stance and the other guy will be like, "Oh, you're from this style." You're like, "Oh, great." Great, now you know. Yeah. But so I always think having that unpredictability is important, especially in a real life situation. Chances are you'll have the element of surprise. Because I think if someone knew that I could fight back, and fight back well, they probably wouldn't have attacked me in the first place.
You're a pretty big guy, to be fair. So, you know, I think that's deterrent enough for me. Like, nah, I haven't got size on my side, so I've got to learn other skills.
Well, but you know what I mean? It's like, let's say, I mean, I am generalizing, but let's say I see you in the street. I'm like, yeah, cool, right, all right. I'm coming for him. Okay, and you know, if I knew you could wrist throw me to the ground as soon as I grabbed you or whatever, you know, if I knew you could do that, chances are I misread the situation, you know, misjudged you, and if I knew that prior, I probably wouldn't have attacked you in the first place. So you will probably have the element of surprise. Obviously, you know, there are cases where that doesn't happen as well, but for the most part, it's like with women when they get attacked, for instance, if they, you know, I've had a few of my female students who did get attacked when their awareness failed them, for instance, and they still had something up their sleeve to get away unscathed, and maybe a few scratches, but they got away okay. And but it, you know, and those guys ended up with scratches all over their faces and everything. One ended up with a broken wrist and a broken nose. I thought, well done. I mean, my student did that to them. And I thought, well done, you know. And so it's like, if that guy had known that was going to happen, he probably would have wanted to pick someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's the risk versus reward thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like, what's the risk, and then what reward can I balance it out? But that's all part of the soft skills of self-defense, though, training, isn't it? And obviously, something that martial arts can bring in terms of bringing that confidence, and even just the way you stand, or having, as you said, the awareness of simple things like not running with your headphones in when it's dark at night, or not putting yourself in certain situations where you're a bit like, it's like, no, just don't. You know, those soft skills are so important. But who was it that said it? Oh, someone I was interviewing for the book the other day said it's the uncommon common sense. And I thought it was a really good way of putting it. I was like, yeah, that's a good way of describing that, actually. It's the uncommon.
That's really good.
Yeah, stolen, definitely quoted. You've also got then a doctorate in metaphysics.
I do. I also have a doctorate in leadership and coaching.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I stay very busy my spare time.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The doctorate in metaphysics was more about the dealing with people, actually, and more about the counseling side, as well as, you know, because I meditate a lot, I'm a very spiritual individual. So it made sense for me to go in that direction.
Yeah, just for anyone who's not aware then, could you just explain, or that's a question in itself, but what is metaphysics?
Metaphysics is the study of consciousness, existence. There are metaphysicians, for instance, who will delve into, say, the more supernatural side, and which is awesome. It's not that I haven't. It's I think perhaps for another time. But
interesting.
With metaphysics, it's all about when people talk about, you know, more of the supernatural kind of stuff. They're still talking about, if it's about what lies beyond.
Yeah.
Then I think metaphysics is just as much about the way we live our lives now than it is what is beyond. So I think it's always important to start with how it is that we live and everything, and then communication, and then we can start moving into more of the esoteric, more of the spiritual, more of the supernatural elements. And my views on that are, you know, if there are these supernatural occurrences and entities, then I wouldn't call them supernatural because they are natural. Because they're natural, they inherently exist in nature.
Yeah.
And it is just an extension of what we were. I think it's an extension of what we already experienced. You know what I mean? Okay. So I think that is something that I love doing. It's like you know, I do get called to haunted houses every now and again. It's been a little while. It's been a little while, but yeah. And for the most part, it's like you have to rule out anything seemingly rational. You know what I mean? It's like for the most
like a creaky water pipe or something.
Or the dry air making the wood creak and everything. Or it's like someone's got a health condition where they lose memory. You know, one person might sleepwalk and do things. You know, someone might have a pacemaker and they live they live close to the power lines or something like that. Like, and something is happening there which is shorting out their memory. I don't know, you know. But for the most part, it's less likely to be supernatural until it is, you know. So building I used to work in, this university I used to work at, it used to be a mental health asylum back in the 1800s.
That's the start of a horror movie right there.
Oh yeah,
I've seen them all. You probably starred in a few.
During the day, it's a nice building, you know.
Yeah.
But we had contractors who would never come back because they got freaked out. Big burly contractors. You just like, oh mate, no, not coming back. It's like, you know, I've certainly seen things that were very unsettling there when I was working there. But it was like
what? I'm intrigued.
So, okay.
We've gone down the rabbit hole now. We need to explore it.
Well, sometimes, you know, when you're walking down a corridor, when you're doing lates, for instance, you're walking down and you know, you're locking up, and the corridors might seem to be longer than they would be during the day. And it's like I'm a very rational kind of guy. I'm you know, what is there at nighttime is there during the daytime, and vice versa. You know, it's like for me, the only thing that scares me is people. That's the only thing that scares me, and the action that leads to you from people. Yeah. But it's like I remember locking up one night, and there's an area where there's just glass offices. Of course, so I'm turning off all the lights. I can see, obviously, you can see your reflection in these.
I don't like where this is going. Freaking me out.
So okay, you can see maybe about three or four. I could see maybe 3 or 4 of my own reflections and everything, and there was one reflection that did not move with the rest, which was not nice at all. That was very unsettling. Sure. It's like I thought it was my eyes playing tricks on me, but the thing is, I can center myself very quickly. It's like in imminent danger, imminent, you know, I can calm myself down very, very quickly. So then I was like, okay, let's test this. I waved, and one of them didn't wave back. And it's like, well, time to leave. Okay. Now I've got the chills, you know what I mean? But it was,
I'd be out.
Yeah.
At that point, I'll test it and wave. No, I'd be out. There'd be a Dan-sized hole in the wall.
But no, it's there are, I did a half an hour video on that building. I had a couple of paranormal investigators who wanted to come in and take a look at the building, and my boss at the time, he said, yeah, well, you can deal with this. I'm like, all right. And and so there's a half an hour video of us walking around the building. It is really cool. It is really, really cool. And I get to talk about the history of the building as well. But for sure, there are some weird ongoings, but the thing is, I would never rule anything out. Never ever rule anything out. I think if this is everything that we know, okay, this, you know, then, you know, we got a room full of things that we don't know, you know. So
of course, so I think I'm the same. I'm an empirical person, so I've never seen anything supernatural, so I'm intend not to believe in the supernatural at the moment. But then I also agree with you that we probably only know about that amount.
Absolutely.
And that there's an infinitesimal amount of stuff that we don't know. So I'm also like, well, you know, I'm just me. Who am I? You know?
It's like, you know, I had to deal with something in the house one time where this cat came in, hissed at thin air, and then ran away. I thought, well, that's not good. you know what I mean? So you know, sometimes you do get that. But I think
the dogs stare at the wall, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So, dude, don't do this.
Yeah, exactly. Freaking me out, dog. Like, no dinner for you.
But I tell you what, it's I mean, with my other doctorate, it was in leadership and coaching, which is all about, I specialized in conflict resolution. So I have this, I developed a matrix, which is how to deal with people. And it's like, if you can deal with people when you're calm and you exhibit empathy, you're more likely to resolve a situation than if you were to deal with them aggressively with physical action. You know, it's I mean, it's something that we all knew already on some level, but it's like I wanted to test that. And that's something that conflict resolution, for instance, is I think should be the first line of defense. I think if that's the first line of defense, then everything else, every part of the martial arts I'm teaching, the physical side, should be when all else fails. So when I'm teaching, I teach a lot of conflict resolution first. How to deal with people, how to compose yourself under pressure to begin with.
Yeah.
And then from that point onwards, if when all else fails and you have to fight, right, let's deal with that. And I think when I've had it before where when you talk yourself out of the situation and everything, sometimes it is in the tone of voice. And I mean, I think earlier this year, last year, in July, someone was on my doorstep threatening to kill me. It's right. And first thing I did was, I looked at the guy. I thought, right, he's on something. He's got a massive beer bottle as well, because that's not helping either.
Yeah.
So I can smell booze and I can smell something else. His eyes are off. His body language is erratic. So okay, and I thought, right, everything he was saying just didn't make sense, and so I thought I probably can't quite reason with this guy. It's and I have to be careful also that if I say something that offends him, he also knows where I live now. You know what I mean? So so I'm always very weary of how I might come across on my own doorstep. And because I live in Oxford, it's such a small city. Yeah. You get around, people know, people start recognizing you and everything. So it's like, this is not the hill I want to die on. This is not worth it, not worth my while, and I think we have to be really smart about it as well. And like when I talk my way out of a situation, sometimes words, it is just choice of words. It's like if you say something like, look, dude, just find someone less likely to put you in hospital. It's like, I probably just aggravated the situation there. Or, how do you think it's going to feel picking up your teeth with broken fingers? It's like, oh my goodness, that was a silly thing to say. And he's like, you what? And then all their friends come over and like, oh, great. So it's absolutely choice of words and everything. And whilst you want to appear non-threatening, you also want to give the impression, it's finding that balance of actually, I could dish it out if I really needed to, if I really, really needed to, So, so for me, I do have that physical deterrent. Whereas, I don't look the most friendly when I'm walking down the street, just because people leave me alone. But I think, when the police stopped me, for instance, I think during the first lockdown, because I was going out on my evening walks just to get some fresh air.
Sure.
And I would go at 2 or 3 in the morning just to avoid people.
Yeah.
Of course, police might stop you, and I never get confrontational about it. For me, it's like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm aware of how I look. I know it's late. I'm just avoiding people. Yeah. I know you stopping me isn't discrimination. It's profiling. I get it. So, I'm the easiest guy to talk to.
Well, that's definitely half of it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, I think I could talk to you for absolutely hours, and I'd love to get you back on. Yeah, I'd love to get you back on at some point and discuss all this more. But for now, then, what's your plans for the future? So for the next year or so, when things kind of calm down slightly with the current situation and things, because obviously that's limiting some things.
Of course, yeah. So I think
when everything's back to some level of normality, whenever that may be. Yeah,
absolutely. Whatever that may look like. I think. So I've got a couple films coming out. November, hopefully, Marvel Eternals will be out.
Cool.
So I'm a stunt double in that.
Nice.
I can't say anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
I also Nick, who I mentioned at the start of the interview, Nick from the Aikibudo Alliance in Wolverhampton.
Yes.
He will be hosting seminars with me, so I'll be teaching them on weapons on the last Sunday of every month from 10 till 1 p.m. From April, fingers crossed.
Perfect. Where's that going to be?
In Wolverhampton.
In Wolverhampton. Cool. I'll try and get down to one. That'd be cool.
Whereabouts are you based?
Lincoln.
Lincoln. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Nice. How far away is Lincoln to Wolverhampton?
An hour and a half, 2 hours maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's about the same for me from Oxford.
Everything seems to be about an hour and a half or 2 hours away from Lincoln.
Oh my goodness.
An hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't know. Yeah.
No,
but
thank
amazing.
you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, we'll get you back on again at some point, and we can have another catch up. And until then, yeah, that's been amazing. Thank you so much for listening again for another episode of the Martial View. Make sure that you give us a like, a subscribe, etc. Martial Masters book is now out, Volume 1 and Volume 2 coming in spring 2021. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Jon.
Thank you.